It's the second generation sensation.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Brian Hardy. Today we're going to be reading another chapter from Wrestling with Life, Rocking All Night, the Brian Hardy story, a tale from the stage to the ring and behind the curtain. So 15 chapters, we've got through 2 chapters so far, and I tell you what, it's been cool so far. I'm going to take this gum out of my mouth real fast. And I have been reading the last 2 chapters off the computer, and I was going to continue to do that so that way I kind of didn't lose my spot. But I was like, you know what? The books are in now. You can buy them off of Amazon. Go to Amazon.com for $30. Type in Brian Hardy Wrestling on the search bar, the scroll bar, and yeah, do that. So let's get to chapter 3. I swore that chapter 1 was probably going to be the shortest chapter in the book, but chapter 3 is kind of pretty short. And then we get into some crazy chapters later that are quite longer. So anyway, chapter 3, School Days. In 1995, I started kindergarten at Sunset Elementary. The first day there, I met another kid named Zach Russell. His mom, Donna, was a teacher's assistant, and something clicked between the two of us. We were best friends. He lived in a neighborhood across the street from the school, and my grandparents' house was in the same neighborhood as the school. We had a play date scheduled, the first one. I can remember my mom saying to me, "Miss Donna says you can bring whatever toys you would like to her house." And not thinking like a normal kid, I did. I packed every single WWF LJN figure into a kitchen-sized trash bag and said, "Can I bring a ring too?" Zach didn't really know anything about wrestling, and I introduced him to that. In his house, he had cars, Batman action figures, and a ton of other really cool stuff. The coolest thing he had was pets. A spider, a snake, fish, cats, and a dog. It was because of the Russell family that I learned to love and appreciate animals. While sitting on the floor in his room, a man with long hair and tattoos walked in and said, "What do we have going on in here?" "Hi, Brian. My name is Mr. GP. He was tall and looked like the wrestler The Undertaker. "Wow, this is your dad? This is what a real dad looks like?" Mr. GP, who I later shortened to Mr. G because his name was Glenn, was the coolest guy I had ever met. He was nice and amazing. He was nice and as amazing as my grandpa, except he had tattoos and didn't stand me in the corner. My weeks started to consist of the following: get dropped off at Grandma and Pop's, go to school, come home to Grandma and Pop's for homework and dinner, get picked up by my mom or stepmonster to sleep, and do it all over again. On the weekends, I would add spending the night at Zach's for the pay-per-view parties or fun things that his parents included me in. They never had to do any of that, but it made their son happy to have a friend around since he was an only child, and it was an extreme bonus for me too. Zach taught me about cool things like the hockey team, the Mighty Ducks, skateboarding, and introduced me to punk rock music for the first time. I'm so very grateful to the Russell family for everything they have ever done for me. I could sit here all day listing off amazing things. Although real life takes control and doesn't leave much free time, I am still happy to see them when I go up to the tattoo shop. Every tattoo I have on my skin is because of Mr. G, and I am super grateful. I told him I would never go anywhere else, and I waited until I was 19 to get my first tattoo. It was a microphone on the back of my right arm, a vintage 1950s mic with my birth year and some music notes. As an adult, I value the talks I have with Mr. G during those sessions because I always considered him as a mentor/father figure in my life. I send him a Christmas card each year to symbolize that I still think of them often and that they are my extended family more than they will ever understand. During the week in my grandparents' neighborhood, I would go out to play after homework and a snack. This is where I met Kenny and John for the first time. They were next door neighbors and lived right across the street from my grandparents. Kenny was a Batman fan, and at the time I met him, Batman Forever was hitting theaters, which is still my favorite Batman movie of all time. It really is. Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face was completely awesome to me. We bonded off of that. Kenny moved away when I was in 7th grade. It crushed me, as I'm sure it did him under the circumstances, and I understood why he had to move which isn't for my book. This past year in 2022, I had received a message on Instagram from my brother and Kenny's sister telling me that he had passed away. It absolutely broke my heart. I remember telling him that I was including him in this book, and he would constantly say, I want the first copy. My first memory of John was walking over in his front yard where he was listening to some group on a CD player. What in the heck was a CD player? I only had a few cassette tapes at home. Who were these guys with such a beautiful sound, though? "It's the Beach Boys," John said. I was hooked. The songs I remember hearing were Fun, Fun, Fun and Barbara Ann. John and I also bonded years later over our love of wrestling. Well, to be honest, all of us in the neighborhood did, but we will get to that a little later on. In the last couple of years, I have seen John more than I ever have before. Since being out of high school, we have lost touch, but I was glad to reconnect. As adults, like I said, life gets busy. It's never that we don't want to talk or any of that, but just life gets busy. I have to say, as a kid, that John was a total firecracker. He was wild and got into a ton of trouble, but I'm super proud of who he is today. He has a beautiful family and really is just a super awesome human being that loves music. He even booked me to play his White Trash Trailer Bash party a few years ago, and Kayla and I attended his and Ashley's wedding, which was absolutely beautiful. Well, maybe not Nick's best man speech about the squirrel, but the rest was amazing. All of us attended the same school in the neighborhood, and we would walk together in the last 2 years of elementary. We spent a majority of our time together building forts, doing concerts for the kids in the neighborhood. Wow, let me tell you what we used to do. We would hook up a boom box on John or Kenny's front porch. We would then proceed to sing songs by the Beach Boys, the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and more. We would charge 25 cents to anyone who would want to watch us, and I guess that was my earliest days of being a promoter and an entertainer. We loved going to Toys R Us together and buying action figures. The one thing that we spent most of our time together doing was helping to shape the future of my life, and I didn't even have a clue. Can you guess? All right. That's chapter 3, Wrestling with Life, Rocking All Night, the Brian Hardy story. Be sure to go to Amazon.com right now. Go into the search bar, Brian Hardy Wrestling. This will pop up for $30. They will ship it directly from their warehouse in Illinois. So, once again, guys, I can't begin to describe all the, how thankful I am for the love and support and everything with this book happening. I can't really get into it from there. It's just amazing. So until next time, until next chapter, this is Brian Hardy saying thanks for watching and keep on slamming.